Welcome back to Fiercely Unfiltered. I'm Kelly Renee. Before I start, I want to slow down a second because this episode isn't coming from a place of clarity. It's coming from a place of tension. Self-trust sounds simple when people say it out loud, but for me, it's been the hardest one to live, not to understand, to act on. And I think that matters because there's a difference between knowing what self-trust is and being willing to take the risk that comes with it. This episode isn't about getting it right. It's about why it's been so hard to move at all, even when I know better now. I've been thinking a lot about this word self-trust, and I'll be honest. I don't know if the issue is that I don't trust myself or if I don't trust what happens after I make a choice that protects me. Because when you've had things actually fall apart, not hypothetically, not what if, but real, worst case scenarios happen, it changes you. It's not fear, it's memory. I know what it looks like when I speak up and suddenly I'm the problem. I know what it feels like when I draw a line and the story gets rewritten about me. And I think part of me learned that standing up for myself just doesn't have consequences. It can cost you everything. So when people say, just trust yourself, I don't know what they mean by that. Because I do trust my values. I trust my intentions. I trust that I'm not trying to hurt anyone. What I don't always trust is how I will react when things don't go the way I hoped, or how much damage happens after I choose myself. And that's where this episode really starts. I want to be really clear about something, because this matters to how I understand myself now. It's not that I don't know what the right decision is, and it's not that I'm making the wrong one. And a lot of the time, I'm not making any decision at all. I sit in it, I wait, not because I'm hoping someone else will fix it, but because I'm watching. I'm paying attention to whether the situation resolves itself without me having to step forward and draw a line. Sometimes I think part of me is still asking, does this really require my action? Because actions change things permanently. Once you stand your ground, there's no pretending you didn't see it. And what's confusing for me now is that I don't care about being misunderstood anymore. I truly don't. I know people see the world through their own experiences, their own wounds, their own limitations. I don't need to manage that. I don't need to correct it. I don't feel the urge to explain myself into safety. So when I notice myself not acting, it's not fear or perception. It's something else. I think I'm still learning to trust that standing my ground doesn't require urgency, that I don't have to act just to prove I know what's right, that sometimes self-trust looks like waiting, not because I'm unsure, but because I'm choosing when to move, not whether I should. I've also had to sit with the fact that waiting used to mean something different to me. Waiting used to be avoidance. Waiting used to be hoping something would change without me having to name it. Waiting used to be me shrinking quietly so I don't have to deal with the fallout. This pause doesn't feel like that. This pause feels deliberate. It feels like I'm finally willing to tolerate the discomfort of clarity without rushing to discharge it. Because for most of my life, once I saw something clearly, I felt obligated to act immediately, to fix it, to confront it, to resolve it. Now I'm learning that clarity doesn't always demand speed. Sometimes it asks for steadiness. Sometimes it asks me to sit long enough to see whether my urge to act is coming from wisdom or from the part of me that just wants relief. And I think this is the hardest version of self-trust I've practiced so far. Not the kind where I take a stand and brace for impact, but the kind where I don't move until I'm sure the version of me choosing isn't reacting to old pain, old urgency, or old fear. I don't think self-trust is confidence. I think self-trust is believing that even if the outcome is messy, you won't turn against yourself. And that's harder. Because for a long time, when things went wrong, I blamed myself. If someone pulled away, I assumed I did something wrong. If things escalated, I questioned my tone, my delivery, my timing. Not because I was wrong, but because I didn't trust myself to survive being misunderstood. That's a different kind of fear. I don't think I care what people think of me, but I do care about being painted as something I'm not. I care about being seen as difficult, dramatic, unstable, just because I finally said no or spoke clearly or stopped shrinking. And maybe that's where self-trust broke for me. Not because I don't know who I am, but because I don't trust the world to handle who I am when I stop managing myself for everyone else. Self-trust isn't trusting that nothing bad will happen. It's trusting that I won't betray myself when it does. There's something else I had to be honest about with myself. I know I'm wounded, not just from childhood, but from life, from betrayal, from trust that was broken when it mattered, from choices I made believing someone was safe when they weren't, from situations where I didn't just get hurt, I lost stability, security, and things I can't get back. And I've always believed, and I still do, that at different stages of your life, you're drawn to different people, situations, and decisions based on how healed or unhealed you are at that time. I can see that clearly now. Some of my past choices weren't stupid. They weren't careless. They came from a part of me that still wanted to believe, still wanted connection, still wanted safety, even when the evidence said otherwise. So part of my pause now isn't fear. It's discernment. I'm asking myself, is this choice coming from an old wound or from the version of me that actually is healthy now? And that question matters more to me than speed, because the decisions I make at this stage of my life carry real weight. I don't get to be reckless with myself anymore. I don't get to say I'll recover later, because later's now. So if it looks like I'm moving slower, it's not because I don't trust myself. It's because I trust myself enough to make sure the part of me choosing isn't the one still bleeding. And there's another part of this I've been paying attention to. I have no problem standing up for other people. If I see someone being bullied, mistreated, dismissed, or taken advantage of, I don't hesitate. I'll be the problem for them without thinking twice. I'll step in. I'll speak up. I'll take that heat. Because in those moments, I can see clearly that they don't deserve what's happening to them. And I trust myself completely to handle whatever's next. What I've had to admit is that I don't offer myself that same immediate protection. When it's me, I wait longer. I tolerate more. I try to understand everyone else's perspective first. Not because I don't believe I deserve better, but because stepping in for myself feels more vulnerable than stepping in for someone else. When I protect someone else, the risk feels shared. When I protect myself, it feels like I'm standing alone. And I think that's where the disconnect lives. I trust myself to fight for what's right. I'm still learning to trust myself to be the one worth fighting for, without needing proof, permission, or validation. That's not a character flaw. That's a habit formed over time. And habits can be unlearned. There's one more layer to this that I don't want to gloss over. When everything fell apart, it wasn't just hurt. I was in a really bad mental place. Getting out of that place took time. It took work, rebuilding mentally, spiritually, emotionally. That's also why I poured so much into my fitness. Because no matter what happens around me, that's something that can't be taken from me. It's mine. The work, the discipline, the proof that I can show up for myself consistently. And part of me is guarding that now, guarding the version of me that's finally steady again. I think this is the part I've been avoiding saying out loud. I'm scared that if I stand up for myself and something goes horribly wrong again, I don't know if I can mentally handle another fallout like that. Not because I'm weak, but because I know what it took to recover last time. And even after a couple years, when I learned new things I didn't know, they'd knock me back down. It felt like starting over again and again. So now, after 3, 4, 5 years, finally feeling healthy, the question isn't, can I handle hard things? I already know I can. The question is, how far would another hit set me back? How strong am I right now? Would I lose months? Would I lose years? Or have I actually built enough resilience that even if something else surfaces, it won't undo me the way it used to? And the truth is, you don't know until you know. Strength isn't something you get to test safely. You only find out how strong you are when something actually challenges it. And I think the uncertainty is what I'm really sitting with. Not doubt in myself, but respect for how much it took to get here and how carefully I want to protect the progress I've made. I don't have this solved, but I trust myself to keep choosing carefully. And I know I'm not acting all the time yet. And I also know that I will. But this pause isn't paralysis. It's a preparation. It's me making sure that when I do stand, I'm doing it from the strongest version of myself, not the most reactive one. And that for me is what self-trust looks like right now. Until next time.